question about standard time. We have expenses, fixed expenses that occur in our consultancy where the engineers will go out and have to charge these expenses, and I would like to set up standard time so that they don't have to fill out all of those expense fields every time, and essentially setting up a template. So an example of that might be like travel. We have a $500 a day travel expense, and I don't want them to have to fill those fields out and make mistakes on those. So can you help with that sort of thing?
Absolutely. We have that's kind of like what we call a fixed expense. And so what you can do is go here to the Insert menu, and we'll create what's called an expense template. When I do that, I get a little form I can fill out. And so for your example, let's just say it's $500 a day. And there's a couple of things that you need to, we'll just call this, travel time or something like that. Whatever you want to name it.
Okay.
Then you got to give it a type. So in this case, I'm going to scroll down here to call it travel, and then a category. And I'm going to say we're going to call this indirect time. You can create as many of these reasons or delete the ones we have. You customize that. But in this case, I'm making this available to all projects, or I can make it available to just certain projects. But in this case, I'm going to say this is available for all projects. It is a billable amount to the customer or client, but the employee does not pay it. So I'm going to uncheck that box and hit Save and Close. And now I've created an expense template for $500 per incident for travel time. And
you've essentially set up all the fields that our guys would normally have to fill out every time.
Right. So they don't have to fill it out now. It's pre-filled, and they just go in and mark the number of occurrences this happens per project or job.
Okay, so let's see that.
Yeah, so the way you find it is kind of a hidden little feature in standard time. I'm looking at the timesheet now, but if I want to go to the expense template, I just click this little drop-down arrow, and I go down here to the expense sheet. And when I do that, I will now be looking at an expense sheet instead of a timesheet. And so, for example, for Dynamics Research, if I open it up, there's travel time. If I open up this other project, you'll also see travel time because, again, I made it available for all projects.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to say, hey, on this day, on Monday, for Dynamics Research, I did 1 day of travel, and I go ahead and put in 1 day of travel, and it's $500 for that expense. And if I wanted to go down here to ECM Systems and say I did a day of travel on that one and also a day of travel on this one, basically I have 2 incidents of travel on 2 different projects, and it's $500 per occurrence. And that will already be pre-populated, so when my manager runs an expense report, they'll get to see what categories it falls into and which type of expense it was.
Okay, so I can see that over in the Expenses tab then?
Yeah, so if I click on the Expenses tab,
yes, okay.
There exactly are the 3 expenses I entered. Again, you can sort by the category, by the amount, whatever you want, by just clicking on the header.
Okay, well, very nice. That was it. I think that'll do it.
Okay, great. Thanks.